All right, guys, we are ready to move on to the second part of our sculpture. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about the materials you're going to need. It's going to be the same things, same items that you used for the first step in the sculpture. So you obviously want to have your chart on hand, a pencil, eraser, Sharpie, ruler, scissors, and you are going to need to cut out one more piece of watercolor paper from your visual journal. So this was cut out from my visual journal, okay? And just a refresher, remember we completed last time this piece of our sculpture, so the profile piece, which means that we're seeing the individual from the side. And today what we're going to be doing is we are going to be completing the piece of our sculpture where the individual is looking straight on towards us, okay? So we're going to get started here in just about 2 seconds. So I went ahead and moved my supplies that I'm not currently using out of the way so I have a little bit more room to work. What we're going to do now, we're going to start the exact same way we started the last piece. We are going to be taking the measurement of our paper across, which is 5 inches, and dividing that in half. So we're going to be looking at 2.5 inches on the ruler. So you are going to find 2.5 inches and you are going to mark that at the top of your paper. Then you're going to come down to the bottom and measure 2.5 inches in and mark that at the bottom of the paper or towards the bottom. It doesn't have to be the very bottom. Okay, so we have our 2 marks measured out. Now what we're going to do, sorry about that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to connect those 2 dots with our ruler and we're going to draw a light line. Remember, this is going to be going through part of our sculpture, and if it's super dark, it will be hard to erase. So we're going to do it lightly. Okay, so you can see that I do have that on there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to turn our paper from portrait orientation to what is commonly referred to as landscape orientation, and we are going to mark 4 inches, and that is because this paper measures 8 inches across. So we're measuring this or dividing this in half. So we have our 8 inches and we're going to divide it into 4 inches. Okay, we're going to slide our ruler down, measure 8 inches, find the 4 on our ruler and make a mark. And just like we did a minute ago, we're going to connect these 2 points. Now, as always, if I'm moving too fast, you are in luck. You can pause me, unlike in real life where you cannot. So go ahead and pause me if I'm going too fast and slow it down or re-watch any of the parts that you need to. So right now, your paper should look like this. We're gonna go ahead and turn this again. So I'm gonna try and go a little bit slower because I do have a tendency to go pretty quickly. Okay, so we're gonna be working in portrait orientation as we draw a Cubist inspired portrait. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the piece we made in the last step, okay? Now yours may look a little bit different from mine. That's okay if it does. In fact, that's great. And all I'm going to be doing right now is using this as a guide to kind of help me figure out what size I'm drawing the next piece, because I don't want it to be super small in comparison to this one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hold this piece here. You can see I still have that pencil line, as you should have kept. And this piece, the neckline, should line right up with that line coming down the center. So I can put this in place and just lightly mark with my pencil the top of the head, the bottom of the chin area, and the side of the head, and where the nose is. These are just guidelines, okay? So what you should see is that I marked 4 spots: the top of the head, the chin, where the nose was, and then the back of the head, okay? All right, we're gonna set this aside and we're gonna take a look at this sculpture. Again, so you've seen this, and I'm gonna show you again. So this is a 3-piece sculpture. It's made with 3 pieces. We're gonna slide the pieces apart. and you'll see that this is the piece we're going to be working on today. I am not going to draw this identical to the one I have here. We'll do a different one just so you get some different ideas, and we'll use our chart to help us along the way. So this, I have already, as you know, 2 different pieces that I've made for profiles, just so that you could see some variation, but this is the original one I did. And this is the original face, just straight on. So now what we're gonna do, now that we have those guidelines marked, we're gonna use those guidelines to help us kind of plan out our drawing. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the center line, and I'm gonna start by sketching the bottom of the chin. Okay, so I'm just making a guideline straight across here, and this is gonna be where my chin is gonna hit. This is gonna be where the top of my head is. So for mine, for those of you who had me in 6th grade, so if you're in 7th grade, you know that when we worked on portraits last year, we talked about the general shape of a head being an upside down egg. So we're gonna go ahead and sketch that general shape in, and then we can always adjust it. Especially because this is a Cubist portrait, we can make changes to it if we want to. So I'm just gonna sketch that in, and that's gonna be my starting point. So right now, I'm not going the whole way out to these guideline marks. I'm gonna fill some of this space in with an ear or some hair. So if your head doesn't go the whole way out there, don't worry, we will adjust this and put in some details that will help us get there. Okay, so I just got a general upside down egg shape to kind of help me plan out the rest of my drawing. All right, so let's go ahead and draw the next piece in, which is, let's start with our facial features. So when I started this one, I started with my nose. Now you don't have to do that, but that's what I'm gonna start with today. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my chart, and I'm gonna take a look at these. And I've already used this nose in this one, and I did it in this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and probably use this or this, just so that I have some variation in my artwork. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that sharp nose. And in this one, I have it facing to the right-hand side. So just to do something a little bit different, I'm going to sketch it going to the left-hand side. So I'm just gonna draw everything in lightly. So starting with a diagonal line, and then a horizontal line over. So, do I want to do triangles or a circle here? Let's go ahead and do a triangle one, just see how it turns out. So I'm going to sketch in my larger triangle, half circle here, and you can adjust this if you wanted to do a whole circle there, you could. You do have the ability to make changes, but remember that this is supposed to be done in an abstract style. So the one thing I don't want you to do, I don't want you trying to make it look realistic. And then I'm gonna put in a smaller triangle and a little circle. Okay, so from here, what I need to do, what I did next when I was drawing this one, is I added in the eyes. And just for variation, I'll go ahead and show you the closed eye, and then I'll also show you an open eye. So I'm going to do a line up and over, and the closed eye is pretty simple. It's just a curve. Then you can adjust or change this shape a little bit. It's almost like if you took the ear, the kind of Shrek ear a little bit, like this Shrek ear, and turned it on its side a little bit. Okay, and then the lashes just go straight down. And then I am gonna put in, adjust that, make that a little bit shorter so I have some room for some other things. Or I could change these eyelashes. So in this one, I did the line straight down. In this one, I could go in and do more of a triangular lash, kind of like we see happening in these drawings. So I could also come in here and sketch out those triangles. So take your time. If you don't like something, erase it and try something different. Okay. Try to draw lightly so that when it's time to erase, you can easily erase the lines. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to put in kind of a line for an eyelid. And I'm going to try and turn this light down. Let's see if that helps. I think that's going to make it better for you guys. Okay, and then I'm gonna put in an eyebrow that I'm gonna have come right off of this line that I drew here. And again, yours does not have to match mine, but if you're needing help or you're not feeling confident, you can definitely work with me if that's gonna help you feel more confident in what you're doing. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to plan out my other eye. So for this one, I think I'm gonna do, maybe, well, we have an eye that looks kind of like this. Maybe I'll do this eye because we don't really have this eye in there yet. So remember, this one started with just an oval shape, and you can make it bigger or smaller. They don't have to be the same size. So maybe I'll make this one bigger. Feels kind of weird when they're different sizes, but Cubist sculptures are, and paintings are a little bit weird, so that's okay. Okay. And do the outline. I'm just lightly sketching this out. I'm gonna put in my circle. Triangle coming off the side, and the lashes over here. Okay. And I feel like I have so many angles happening in here. I may adjust the nose at some point if I'm not loving it, but we'll leave it, I guess, for now. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna start refining. As soon as I put the mouth in, I'm gonna go in and refine the shape of the head a little bit, and we'll put in all those details that are gonna make this more interesting. So let's see, in the original, I did this mouth, then in the variation I did this one, and I already have this mouth. We'll see if we can do something, maybe I'll do this one where I drew in the teeth so you can see how I did teeth. All right, so I'm gonna do that kind of exaggerated curve up, down, and I'm gonna make this side smaller. And again, you can keep adjusting these until you get them right. We're gonna curve down. And I'm gonna put the line underneath here. So it's really just following this line. Okay. And then to do the teeth, I just drew a line down, and I curved the edges of each of those. All right, and this is almost done. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to adjust the face a little bit. So I'm gonna make this a little more angular. And I liked what I did with the triangular piece I put in the chin in this one, so I'm gonna keep that. So I'm gonna straighten these sides out a little bit. And I may even adjust the nose, like I said, but for now, I guess I can leave it. I am going to add the eyebrow above here. Okay, and then I like the circles for the cheeks, so I may put one here. If you remember Romero Britto's work, he often did a heart in the cheeks. Okay, I'm gonna come up straight from here a little bit instead of curving it so much. And I'm gonna decide for the hair what I'm gonna do. So I'll do the hair on this one fairly similar to the way I did it here. And so what I did was I came in and drew bangs in. So they're actually gonna come up, I should say come down over the eyebrow and then up, and then down again, and then up. And again, you can adjust those. This is why we always draw lightly. Could even have these ones come down further if I wanted. And then I came over here and I drew another piece of hair coming down over the eye. So we're creating some overlapping here. So because the hair is on top, we leave the line for the hair and erase the lines below. Okay, so now what I want to do is draw the rest of this hair in, and I actually want to put another hat on this. So in this one, I drew a beret, but in this one, I'm going to do a different kind of hat. So if you looked at all of the Picasso portraits I put in your Google slide presentation, almost all of the paintings, the women have hats on. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that in this one. And I think I'm gonna put the hat on a bit of an angle. And I'm actually gonna look at, I'll show you which painting I'm looking at here in just a second. So I am going to start with a curve out. It's gonna come down. I think it's gonna come across her face even. Back up. And then what I'm going to do is, in just a second, I'm going to draw in. So this is all going away. I'm gonna draw in the top of the hat. So I don't want this to go too much off the page because this is a sculpture. And so I want all the parts included. So this hat's gonna be a little bit smaller than what we see in Picasso's painting, but that's okay. I'm going to take a line and curve it here a little bit. And I'm going to draw, actually it's going to come to right about here. Just the top of the hat in here. I'm going to curve this line up a little bit more. And then I love the bow that Picasso had in there, so we'll see about putting a bow in here. And these hats, a lot of the hats in the paintings look very funny. So if your hat looks a little funny, that's okay. They looked funny in Picasso's paintings too. All right, so these are kind of just triangular shapes that we're seeing here. And I'm just gonna go ahead and put some of those in. So don't get caught up in like, oh, it doesn't look exactly like a bow, it doesn't look exactly like a hat. You know what? It's not going to look exactly like it because this is abstract art. Okay? And then I love that Picasso did these curved lines, which helps to give the hat a little bit of form. So if you did straight lines, it wouldn't have nearly as much form in it. Would kind of flatten it out. So I'm going to put those curves in, and then we're going to finish up the hair and the ears. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I am going to make a decision about the rest of the hair. So we'll do hair like we did pretty much in the other one. So I'm going to come straight down from here. And I like to make one side of the hair longer than the other. So I'm going to curve this up. And then remember, this was kind of just a guideline from before. Okay, and I'm gonna draw the line for the bangs in. Okay, and then let's go ahead and draw this side, and you can include an ear if you want. You can leave it out. I like having the ear, so I'm gonna do the figure 8, or almost kind of reminds me of a little butterfly ear on this side. You can take out the horizontal guideline, but do not take out this guideline because we're going to use that a little bit later. So now I'm going to put that figure 8 ear on. So I'm calling it a figure 8 ear because I start by drawing an 8, and then little one on the inside, and then we're just going to make a bigger one on the outside that comes down. Okay, so now she's got her ear. And I'm going to put the rest of her hair in. I'm going to add a little bit more maybe on that side in a second. So just for something a little bit different, I'm going to bring this line down. And I think I'm gonna have this side curve in and maybe not have it be quite as long as the other side. So some asymmetry happening there. Yep, okay. So I'm gonna curve that. And maybe I'll bring it up in front of her face just a little bit. Okay, and now we need to put the neck in. So for the neck, I again did it on an angle. So we want it to be, I would say this one is about 2.5 inches wide. So we definitely want it to be about 2.5 inches. So that's 1.5. 2.5 would put it out here. So it's a rough estimate, it doesn't have to be perfect. You might adjust it later, but I'm gonna bring the hair up a little bit more. And then I drew this on an angle. This. Obviously I did it in the other direction on that one. So it's up to you which way you do this on this one. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start refining my work, which we've been talking about a lot, about the fact that, you know, just because you have something done, like you finished drawing, this isn't actually finished. I'm gonna go in and make adjustments to it until I'm actually happy with it. So that's what I'm gonna do now. And then I'll speed up the video and you can see the finished product in just a minute. Okay, so now it's done as far as the tracing goes. And remember that when you go into erase, you're going to leave this guideline going through the center, okay? You can go in and clean up all the other lines now. So take out all of the pencil marks, that you no longer need, definitely do that, because we are going to be painting this and you want to have as many of those lines gone as possible. So clean that all up. And then what you're going to do is take it over to the window and tape it up just like we did with the last one, which I will show you in just a minute in case you've forgotten. And you're gonna trace over what you see in the window on the back. So we'll go over that in just a second. Okay, so I've taped this to the window again. You can see there are two pieces of tape, one at the top, one at the bottom. And I have taped it so that the Sharpie side is facing away from me. And you have a couple of choices. You could trace it with pencil first and then go over it with Sharpie again. Or if you're feeling pretty confident in your skills, you can go ahead and trace directly onto the paper. Okay, so you'll go ahead and trace over everything in Sharpie, and then you'll take it off the window, and then you're going to simply cut out your design and save it, and we'll be moving on to the next step in the next video.